Something is happening right now that the mainstream media refuses to talk about. And if you don't understand what's going on, your savings could be worth significantly less in the next few years than they are today. The US dollar has been the king of the global financial system for over 80 years. Every barrel of oil, every international trade deal, every central bank reserve, all of it was built on the foundation of the American dollar. But in 2026, that foundation is cracking. Not collapsing overnight, cracking, slowly, systematically. And the people who see it coming are already moving their money. Let me show you 3 numbers that Wall Street doesn't want you to focus on. Number 1, 56.8%. That is the current share of the US dollar in global central bank reserves, according to the IMF's latest COFR data released in March 2026. 56.8%. That is the lowest level since 1994, 31 years ago. Think about what that means. The institutions that manage the financial stability of entire nations, the central banks of China, India, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, they are quietly, methodically reducing their exposure to the dollar, and they are replacing it with gold. Central bank gold purchases have surged, with an average increase of 8% in recent years. These are not small players making emotional bets. These are the most sophisticated financial institutions on the planet, and they are telling you something with their actions, even if they won't say it with their words. The angle that should terrify you is this. The total amount of dollar reserves has barely moved in a decade, sitting around $7.46 trillion. But global reserves overall have exploded to over $13 trillion. That means the world is creating new wealth, and almost none of it is going into dollars. The pie is growing. The dollar's slice is shrinking. Number 2, 49.7%. In January 2026, for the first time in modern financial history, the US dollar fell below 50% of global SWIFT payment messages, 49.7%. That is the share of international transactions that actually use the dollar as the settlement currency. SWIFT is the backbone of global banking. Every time a German company pays a Japanese supplier, every time a British bank settles a trade with a Brazilian counterpart, that transaction runs through SWIFT. And for decades, the dollar dominated that system. Not anymore. What is replacing it? Yuan payments are accelerating. India and Russia now settle over $15 billion worth of trade per year using rupees and rubles. The BRICS nations have launched BRICS Pay and a new cross-border CBDC system called BRICS Bridge, specifically designed to route transactions away from the dollar and away from American oversight. In China alone, the yuan now represents 53.9% of all cross-border non-bank payments. This is not a rumor. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the data from the system itself. Number 3, 90%. 90% of all commercial settlements between Russia and its BRICS partners are now conducted in local currencies, not dollars. Rubles, yuans, rupees, reals. The total volume of intra-BRICS trade exceeded $1 trillion in 2025, and it is growing every quarter, almost entirely outside the dollar system. And this is where it gets geopolitical. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, the 2 countries whose oil deals created the petrodollar system in the first place, are now settling a growing share of their energy exports to China in yuan and digital currencies running on blockchain networks that the United States cannot monitor, cannot freeze, and cannot sanction. The petrodollar was the single most powerful financial weapon America ever created, and the countries that built it with America are quietly dismantling it. Now here is what I need you to understand. This is not a prediction that the dollar will be worthless tomorrow. It won't be. The dollar remains the dominant reserve currency. It remains deeply embedded in global finance. But dominance is not the same as invincibility. What you are witnessing is a slow structural shift, driven by geopolitics, by the weaponization of the dollar through sanctions, by the rise of the BRICS bloc, which now represents 37% of global GDP compared to the G7's 29.9%. For the first time in history, the Western bloc is the economic minority. When reserve currencies fall, they don't fall overnight. The British pound lost its reserve status over 30 years, but the people who saw it coming early, who diversified into gold, into other currencies, into hard assets, they preserved their wealth. The people who waited for the headlines lost it. The question is not whether this shift is happening. The data tells you it is. The question is what you are doing about it right now. If you want to understand how to protect your savings in a world where the dollar is losing its grip, subscribe to Investopia. We break down exactly what is happening in the global financial system and what it means for your money every single day. The dollar is not dead, but its era of unchallenged dominance is over, and 2026 is the year the numbers make that impossible to deny.